excellent setting to start a video with.
It's fun.
I love it.
It simulates real life.
Yeah, exactly. Hey YouTube, it's Kathy, and this fine fellow is...
Also Kathy. I'm just kidding, my name's Peter.
Hi Peter. How did we meet, Peter?
How did we meet? There was something to do with the internet, and then libraries.
It was Road to Nerdfighteria.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
When you posted your video, I was like, hey, you're really close to where I am.
That's right, I remember now.
So we decided that since we knew we were taking the same flight down to VidCon, we would both read a short book and then talk about it in an airport, which seems like a very YouTube and VidCon type of thing to do.
Good morning, Kathy, it's Tuesday.
Exactly, it is Tuesday. Good job, Peter.
Yes.
And if all goes well, this will be up by the end of the day, so hooray. So we decided to read The Body in the Library by Agathaa Christie, which was a choice that I had mixed feelings about.
Well, I've never read mystery books, and I certainly have never read Miss Marple.
Okay.
Or Agatha Christie, rather.
Yeah.
But I had dated a gal who was really into, Poirot, and so I kind of knew what to expect. Almost.
So I've read a fair amount of mystery, but I hadn't read any Agatha Christie yet. And it was very different from the type of mysteries that I've read in the past. Like, I'd read a lot of Nancy Drew as a kid, and then I've read, Kathy Reichs and, all of the main mystery type people now. Not all of them, that would be silly. But a lot of them, yes. Enough to understand the genre, and there were really big differences between what I know from other mystery type things and this. First off, did you think it was going to be in a public library?
I was hoping.
Yeah.
I was really hoping.
I thought it, because I forget that people are rich enough to have whole rooms of books, because I don't.
Yeah.
So
I called it the office. So before I started reading it, I had read up on Agatha Christie and her style, and I was surprised because a lot of people they were panning it, and they were like, "Oh man, it's so predictable," and blah 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 blah. I was like, "Well, okay, we'll see." And when I was reading it, I found myself not liking it, but for totally different reasons than everyone else was saying.
What were your reasons? Because I definitely have some, so let's see if they're the same.
Yeah, so for me it was... So the whole concept of Miss Marple, from this one small sample size, apparently she solves mysteries from people she's met in her life.
Yeah.
And looking at how that was portrayed, it felt like a deus ex machina around every corner. It's like, oh, I'm not really going to introduce a reason. I'm just going to say, oh, because I knew someone who looked like this and acted like this. Dear Mr. Old Pennywise at the farm down the street did the same things. And to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a big problem with the fact that she didn't do any of her own work to try to figure things out. It was half the book, she wasn't even in it, and it was you were following police officers who are actually solving the crime. And everything else I've read with a protagonist who is solving crime is actually a part of solving it. Nancy Drew goes out and does her detective thing, or Temperance Brennan is doing the forensics, that type of thing. So it was weird to have this person that's just kind of sitting in the sidelines, doesn't get her hands dirty, is just sitting very prim and proper and very hoity-toity and annoying that.
Eating cucumber sandwiches.
Oh god, yes, exactly. This should have been the important fingerist, really.
Yeah, and it's funny because after I finished the book, I flipped it over, and I read it. One of the critics' reviews was Agatha Christie is such a good writer, you'll never guess who the real criminal was at the end. And I'm like, well, yes, I won't, because none of the book has anything to do. They put all of these things out throughout the course of the book, and then at the end, Miss Marple comes in and is like, oh, and here's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and no way to figure it out because there were never any clues in there. There was never any deduction skills used besides her just being I used to have a friend that was kind of like this, and this is why this person is the murderer. And I can't remember who it was because I read it 20 books ago, and I actually really don't care.
Spoiler alert. So very early in the book, so after they found the body, the one gal who ended up being one of the guilty people was like, oh, maybe it was what's-his-face's, because she looks exactly like this girl that he goes after. And so they go, and he has an alibi, and they just leave it at that. So I take it back. Maybe that was clever, because the way it went was it wasn't this Hollywood guy, but they had put the body in the Hollywood guy's house after they had killed the girl,
Oh, and he moved it.
And then he moved it because he was drunk.
He was like, well, this seems like a terrible situation. Let me fix this.
Yeah. Put it off onto the bourgeoisie, as we often do. It was a quick read, though.
Yeah, it was a quick read. There was one character where, like, his defining feature, and basically the whole thing was he was in a wheelchair. So, like, every time they mentioned him, they were like, oh, yes, that man in a wheelchair. And I was like, oh, yeah.
So the library belonged to, like, a British retired army dude or something. And I was disconcerted by how enthusiastic his wife was about the fact that
there's a murder, this is exciting, yeah. I have to call my friend.
Yeah, a dead body appears in her library and she gets to play sleuth. I mean, I guess maybe it makes sense, because if Agatha Christie was writing books for a specific time period, a specific group of people in that time period, maybe they would be like, oh, I also would get enthusiastic if I found a body in my husband's library.
Do you want to know the first note I wrote down? Because I knew it would amuse you. This was the 69th book I read this year.
I'll have to tell Lindsay.
Yeah, I knew you would approve. Did you know about this trope of the body in the library trope? Because I'd never heard of it before. I'm glad it wasn't just me.
I mean, there's like Clue, but that's like library being one of many.
Yeah, exactly. One of 9 places, yeah. The people around town just being like, well, that slut, she kind of deserved to be murdered. And I was just like, excuse me? So there was a lot of that that I did not care for.
And a lot of like, oh, she was like plain and simple. Never would have guessed it.
Yeah. And oh, the man whose library was, he's just such a nice man. And like nobody even thought for a second that he did it. Oh, she mentioned herself in the book, which was weird.
Agatha Christie?
Yeah, she mentioned like, because there was that kid who was a fan of mystery books.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I love Agatha Christie. And I was like, I wonder if you did this first or if Stephen King did this first.
I remember that coming up and being like, oh, how very self-referential.
It was kind of cute.
It was. Kind of yeah, that was a good thing. But Agatha, I tell you, the next time you do something like that, I'm not buying another one of your books ever again.
I'm Sean. I don't think you'll have that problem.
But how am I going to be indignant?
I think you can do that. There's this place called the internet, and it makes it really easy.
Oh, goody.
Do you have anything else to say?
I give it a 3 out of 10. If you need something quick to read, and there's literally nothing else, maybe it's worth it.
There's a lot of ableism and such a thing, and I mean, if you feel like you really have to read an Agatha Christie, it might not be the worst one, but I haven't read any of the others, so I have no way of telling you one way or the other.
You should read another Agatha Christie book, and then let us know in the comments below if it was any better.
That is a great thing that probably no one will do, but I really hope they do, because it saves me from having to read them.
Right? Well, hey, thanks for doing this. This is fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
Sign off, I guess.
Bye.
Merry Christmas if I don't see you.